Hey everyone, I'm Jordan. This is Liam and Jason. You guys know them from previous videos. This video we're going to be covering the MLB season and looking into our teams and predictions for who's going to win each division and World Series matchups. First, I'd like to start off the bat with saying congratulations to Japan on winning the World Baseball Classic in their 3-2 victory over the United States. Joey Ohtani is just phenomenal. I'm just gonna say it right there. But now we're just gonna move right on in, and we're gonna talk with each person about their teams. I'm gonna start off with Jason, and I'm gonna ask, how successful do you think the Yankees are gonna be this year?
I'm hoping we're going to have somewhat of a repeat of last year. I'm liking that we're starting to get these young guys coming up. That's been the biggest, I think, hiccup for us the last couple of years is that we've had these guys waiting in the wings, and they've kind of left them down there. This spring they brought up Volpe. He's produced to the point now where they're putting IKF on the outfield, trying to see where they could work him in because he's pushing their hand, which hopefully he does make the roster because they said I believe he'd be the first rookie to make the opening day roster since like 2013, something like that. So that'd be a kick in the pants for that lineup and defense. Um, I'm not loving Josh Donaldson coming back at third base. He's I think he's past his prime. Judge coming back, that's what it is. I haven't been the biggest Judge supporter, but um, he's a good defender, and when he's hot at the plate, obviously, who wouldn't take that? As far as like prediction wise, I think they repeat as the East champs. I like the Blue Jays lineup a lot. Um, shoot, even the Orioles showed some promise last year. Not saying I'm predicting them to do anything again this year, but I think the Yankees should take the East as long as everybody stays healthy. Starting rotations looking a whole lot better now that they've got a 1-2 punch at the top of the lineup with Cole and now Rodon. I know he's going to start the season on the IL, which isn't ideal, but after the first month of the season or so, I think as long as, like I said, everybody stays healthy, that they should be a team that's a 100-game winner and division champs.
How about the Royals? How successful do you think the Royals are gonna be?
Not very. I mean, they've been bad since 2015. They have a lot of young people on the roster and they just need more time to like develop. Like Bobby Witt last year showed amazing promise. Vinny did. Brady Singer started to figure it out a little bit. I think he actually led the team with ERA last year. So I think if the young guys can start producing a little bit more, they might not lose 100 games, but I just don't see them competing for a division title or even a wild card spot.
I didn't think the Phillies would be in the World Series. And most people didn't think the Phillies would be in the World Series, but we ended up going to the World Series. That was a shock to everyone. Most people thought it would be a battle with the Cardinals. But we didn't. I don't even think anyone expected us to go to the NL Championship. But to be in the World Series now, you have high expectations going into next year. Um, I don't think this team can win 100 games yet. I do think we can win the division. I'll get into like what I think about the division in our upcoming questions, but I think we just go right under 100 wins, maybe like 96. Um, I think the Mets and Braves make playoffs with like plus 85 wins. I don't think anyone in the division gets 100 wins. Um, I think we appear in the NL Championship, but I just can't see us going back to the World Series. Losing Reese Hoskins, it wasn't a big loss. I think a lot of people see Reese Hoskins and they're like, "Oh my God, that was a big loss." But Hoskins very inconsistent last year. Um, when he was playing at his best, he was the best player in baseball. Um, but when sometimes he just would get on this cold streak that we were like, why is this guy even on the team? That's why honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if we never saw Hoskins in a Phillies uniform ever again. Um, we still have a lack of pitching depth. That's still an issue. That's why I don't think we can go back to the World Series. I think we got really lucky beating, even getting there with the pitching depth that we had. So I don't know how we could go back to the World Series. We would need to make a trade for some sort of star pitcher for me to feel somewhat comfortable. I'm not too worried about like Bryce Harper's injury. Um, I'm not even worried too much about Hoskins losing Hoskins. We had Trey Turner. That was a huge addition. I love Trey Turner. I think he's an awesome addition to the team. But I think when it comes down to it, I think if we were to replay Padres Phillies, I think the Padres are going to end up having the upper hand just because of pitching depth. All right. So let's get into each division. Start with the NL East. Liam, who do you think's winning the NL East?
I mean, that division for me is kind of like a toss up between either kind of a three-way toss up. The Mets got better, and then I think the Phillies are good, and then the Braves. So between those three teams, I think one of them will win the division, and I just like the Braves lineup a little bit more.
Jason, what do you think? NL East?
If we would have had this discussion last week, I'd have said the Mets. But I think them losing Edwin Diaz is going to be way bigger than people are going to, I think, realize. So I'm piggybacking with Liam. I like the Braves lineup a lot. I think it's going to be. I mean, to me that's the best division in baseball as far as competition goes between those three. I think 2023 the Braves get the NL East this year.
I mean, I'm picking the Phillies, obviously. But I will say I do think the Braves have a shot to go to the World Series. I don't think the Mets. I think the Mets choke like they do every single year. Losing Edwin Diaz, like you said, that's a huge loss. I'm also looking at the Mets are one of the oldest teams, means compared to every other team in the entire MLB. I just don't. I think even if you add Verlander into that mix, I still don't think that does much to that team. Especially against younger teams. Like when you're playing against the Braves, I don't expect the Mets to necessarily beat the Braves by a ton. I do think the Mets can make the playoffs. And I do have them making the playoffs. But I I I think that it's the Phillies to lose, even though they didn't win it last year. It's the Phillies to lose just because they made the World Series. Um, and I do think the Braves can win the division, and I think it's going to come down to a couple of games, and those couple of games might be Atlanta coming to Philadelphia and losing, or Philadelphia going to Atlanta and winning. And I think that's where the Phillies are just going to have slight edge, very slight edge. I wouldn't be shocked if the Braves went and won the division. I wouldn't be shocked if the Braves went and won the World Series. But I do think it's definitely the Phillies to lose, and the Mets. I'm not too worried about them. All right, let's move to the NL Central. Jason, what do you think? Who do you think's winning the NL Central?
To me, it's pretty easy. I think it's the Cardinals. They're by far the better team of the five there. Just the talent on offense, that rotation. I don't see anybody touching the Cardinals. I think they win that division by at least 10 games.
What do you think? Who do you think's winning the NL Central?
I'll have to agree with Jason. I think the Cardinals are going to run away with that. I think the second best team in that division is probably the Brewers, and they're still not anywhere near as good as the Cardinals are.
I'm gonna pick a shocking one. I do think the Brewers end up winning the division. Something's telling me the Brewers do something weird. They might have a season like the Phillies or the Mariners, and they get into the playoffs somehow. I think a lot of the Cardinals season last year, towards the end of the year, ran on the emotions of Albert Pujols leaving and Yadier Molina. I think there's definitely a lot of great players on the team still, but think that late season push was because of the emotions. They were riding on the emotions. I want to see how they can do the beginning of this year. Even if they're successful at the beginning of this year, it's going to change my opinion. I might in 2 months, I might say, yeah, the Cardinals are winning the division no matter what. But I'm going to shock people. I think the Brewers just kind of, it's something that nobody's going to expect. All right. Liam, let's talk about the NL West. Who do you think's winning the NL West?
I mean, if you were to give championships for regular season performance, you would give it to the Dodgers. So I think the Dodgers are going to win that division again and then probably lose first or second round in the playoffs.
The Dodgers are good, and obviously, with that payload that they have on their roster, I'm going with San Diego. Um, they just continue to add off season after off season, and after playing little brother, to the Dodgers for so long, I think they get the division this year, and would not surprise me if they're fighting for the NL title there.
I have the Dodgers winning, but if you ask me in a separate question, who do I think is going to go further into the playoffs? I think the Padres do. The Dodgers went 15-8 last year against the Padres, but key thing is they ended on a 3-game losing streak to the Padres. So I'm not going to be shocked that the Padres go and win. I just think the Dodgers end up winning it like they normally do. But the Padres, I think the Padres just go a lot further into the playoffs. I agree with Liam. I think they bounce like first round possibly. I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Padres won, but I I think the Dodgers end up winning like 100 games plus 105 games plus. All right, let's talk about the AL East and your division, Jason. Who do you think's going to win that?
Probably the Red Sox. No, it's the Yankees division. It's, like I said earlier, I like Toronto's lineup a lot. Baltimore's up and coming with the young guys that they're bringing in. I still think it's the Yankees division this year.
How about you in the AL East?
As much as I would love to say Toronto, because Whit Merrifield used to be a Royal and now over there, and just the lineup they have, I just don't think I can manage to pick against the Yankees because that one is the Yankees to lose, and I just don't think they will.
I expect over 100 wins for the Yankees. Division's no slouch. I do think Toronto has a shot. But unless some major injury occurs to someone like Aaron Judge, it's like Jason said, it's your division to lose. A wild card team that I'm not going to be shocked if they make it is the Orioles. I just don't think they can win the division. I say the Orioles, they have just some pieces that could, if they can get some chemistry together, like with Frazier and Mullins, I think they have a shot to maybe win a playoff series and just shock people. But it's definitely the Yankees to lose. I think if anything, the Yankees need to focus on how can they get past the first couple rounds and get to the World Series. Now, for the AL Central, Liam, who do you think's going to win the AL Central?
I think I'm going to probably have to pick the Twins just because they've been on the cusp of winning that division and won it a couple times and then just not really done much. I think this year they'll have something to prove and they're going to win that division and maybe win a playoff series.
This is the hardest one to pick. If I would say right now going into the season, I'd probably say Cleveland. I like that team. But I do like the Twins. I'm a big believer, kind of like we talked about earlier, about team chemistry. And I don't know, bringing back Correa after he was on like 3 different teams this offseason, coming into his like third choice, how, if that would affect anybody in that locker room. It might. I mean, I'm that kind of a person. So, if there's somebody like that in the locker room, it might hurt him. But I think as of right now, I'm going to roll with the Guardians.
I agree with Liam here. I do have the Twins winning, and I think I see the Guardians taking a step back in the division. This was probably the worst division coming into this year. I don't think anyone in this division is going to go to the World Series. I'd be shocked if anyone did. And I'm just not worried about anyone, and I think the Twins end up winning. And like Jason said, a lot to do with chemistry. There's a lot of questions surrounding Carlos Correa. So yeah, I don't really have much to say for this division. It's a lot of questions. All right, and our final division. Let's talk about the AL West. Liam, who do you think's winning the AL West?
I think the Astros are going to win again. Like, I'm not picking against the Astros unless one of those four teams in that division can prove me wrong. And they haven't recently, and feel like the Angels should be good, just they never can take that step forward with Shohei and Trout. I feel like they should be much better than they are. So I'm going to stick with the Astros.
Jason, how about you in the AL West?
I want so badly to say the Mariners. I really do. But unless that injury to Altuve is, going to be a lingering thing all season, I'd still pick the Astros right now.
I have the Astros winning. I think the Mariners compete for a wild card spot, but not the division. I think the Mariners could be last year's Phillies, but that team needs a lot more experience, and that's something the Astros just have a lot of. It's the Astros division to lose. I don't know how they don't go back to the World Series. I think they got the most chemistry, most experience. They have everything you want to go and repeat again if they wanted to. But the one thing I will say, think I think they struggle a little bit during the season, and I think they don't get over 100 wins. That's pretty much the only take I'll have on the Astros. Otherwise, they're still going to make it pretty far into the playoffs. All right, let's talk about our Diamond Player of the Year. So I don't know if most people know this, but every year we vote on different awards for different parts of each page. For the baseball side, which we call the Diamond, we have the Diamond Player of the Year. We don't really call it the most valuable player of the award because it's not about who's the most valuable player. It's who's the best player of the year. It's a straight up question. It's an honest question. We don't have to think about, who's more valuable, because that's not what we're asking. We're asking who's the best player of the year. So Jason, who do you think is going to be the player of the year this year?
I think it's pretty obvious it's going to be Ohtani. As long as he stays healthy, guy can throw 102 miles an hour and then hit a ball 400 feet. Hard to beat that.
Liam, what do you think?
Pretty much just that. It's going to be Ohtani. Like, when you can throw the ball as well as he does and then come to the plate and do what he does, nobody's better than him. So I'm going to go with Shohei.
I don't think anyone else is even close to him. We'd need Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, Aaron Judge to go out there and pitch 100 miles per hour to even come close to that. That's not happening anytime soon. But after watching the WBC, it was clear and obvious to me this guy's the best player in baseball, and he's the best player in the entire world. And I personally think, and this might be a hot take to some people, but I think he's the best athlete in the world. I think he's the best player, best person in sports in the entire world in any sport. He's just so much better. It sucks he's on the Angels. That's the only thing holding him back. I think we all know this. That's what's held Mike Trout back from even attempting to make a World Series run. But he's so good to watch. He's so fun to watch. It's like when you go and watch a Pee Wee baseball game, you see some kid go out there and pitch and he gets a strikeout. Then the same inning, he goes and hits a home run. Like, it's cool to watch. But now this guy's in Major League Baseball and he's going and doing it. And he's pitching 100 miles per hour and he's clobbering home runs. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's been doing that for over 75 years. So, it's Ohtani. I don't think anyone else is that close. So, next question is a little bit of a combined question. Who is winning the NL and the AL? And Liam, let's start with you.
I feel like for the AL, I think the Astros win it again and they win the pennant again. Then for the NL, it's a little tougher. Like you have the Dodgers, Padres can make a run, but I think the Braves get hot at the right time with that lineup, and their pitching comes together, and I think the Braves will win the NL.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same boat there. I think we're gonna have a repeat of the 2021 World Series, where it's gonna be Atlanta and Houston. Houston's just, like I said, as long as that thing with Altuve, isn't like a season long thing that's gonna hold him back. Because as much as I don't like him personally, him he just brings something to that team. Just that fire, that energy. And then shoot, the postseason comes around and all he does is hit home runs all of a sudden. So, and then, yeah, I mean, the Braves, they're very streaky, and kind of like what Liam said, if they can catch fire towards, the last month of the season, would not surprise me to go through the NL, which I think is a tougher conference. But yeah, I think it's going to be a 2021 World Series replay.
I was just trying to think because the AL looks so straightforward. It looks like the Astros are going back. And I just I don't want to accept that. But I wrote down Mariners just as like a sneaky team that just gets a wild card spot and then gets rolling. But here I'm looking at it, I'm thinking I am going Astros. It just makes sense. But for the NL, I do have the Padres winning it. I think finally the money they spend finally pays off, and I think it ends up being Padres and Astros in the World Series. Now, let's take our examples that we talked about and who we think is going to win the NL and AL, and who's going to win the World Series from that matchup. So, Jason, let's start with you.
I think it's Houston. I think they repeat. As much as I hate to say that, it's just I think the only team in the AL that could have game a run for the money is the Yankees, and we can't get over that hump. And I don't think the Phillies could keep up, or the Braves could keep up with them. Even though they did, in 21, tough to go against the Astros right now. So they're my pick for this year.
How about you?
Kind of the same thing. I would love to pick Atlanta because I just can't stand Houston, but Houston with that lineup being as good as they have been for as long, I think it could be a good series. I just don't think the Braves will have what it takes to beat the Astros.
I think the Padres win. I think in my original when I wrote this down, I did have the Mariners winning, and I said Padres are going to win the series because they had more depth than the Mariners. Now, just rethinking it, if it's Padres Astros, I have Padres winning. I think that money needs to go somewhere, and I think finally it pays off for them. I think there was issues last year with last year's team, and that's why they would lose to a team like the Phillies. But I think the Padres just finally get something. I don't know. I do think the Astros pretty much have the best odds. Like if you're a betting man, you bet on the Astros. I don't know what the odds are. I don't do betting, but if I was a betting man, just go bet on the Astros to win it all. They would need some major injury for them to even slow down. But yeah, I'm gonna pick the Padres. Why not? All right. Well, thank you all for coming, and let's hope for a very healthy baseball season. I may not like the Yankees. I'm gonna say right now, I hate the Yankees. I hate the Mets. I live with two Mets fans, and but you know what? I hope everybody stays healthy, and good luck to everyone's season.